Hi, I'm Melissa Muir. Welcome back for another Tool Time Tuesday video. In this video, we're going to be working once again with the JoolTool, showing again how versatile this tool can actually be. I've already showed you how to polish your tools, get a nice high sheen, nice silky smooth finish, and removing different pits and imperfections. Today, we're going to be working with fused glass. I have some glass cabochons that were sent to me from a friend of mine that are not quite perfect yet. They've come out of the kiln and maybe have that little bit of a fire polish to them. However, their shape is just a little bit wonky. There's a few little imperfections that create some sharp points, and I'm going to show you how to modify those and bring that glass cabochon right back up to a nice silky shine. The process that I'm going to go through with these cabochons, we're going to be using the Flex Diamond, and then we go into some more diamond abrasives. We have the medium and a very fine. I follow it up with the felt, with the polishing compound, and finally with our cerium oxide. And that's going to bring everything back to that nice wet look where it's just super high polished, and like I said, it looks wet. Speaking of being wet, we will actually be using water with this, and I will show you that in just a moment. Now, these cabochons were sent to me, and again, these had some irregularities. Their shape was a little off, and I was able to go through and create nice, beautiful shaped, beveled edges that are nice and even. And again, if you look, you'll see everything is just silky smooth, high polished, looks like wet glass. The cabochon that I'm going to be using in this demonstration, again, is a little bit irregular. Things are kind of off. We've got some bumps, some rough spots here where the dichroic has kind of come out and created several different imperfections. So I'm going to kind of round all of this off, smooth the edges, make them a little bit more straight, and bring this more into a rectangular shape. So the JoolTool actually has this little handy tray, and it fits just in underneath the tool itself, so it's like a little drawer. So you can keep different things in there, like your polishing compound, or store different bits or whatnot while it's not in use. But then when you need to use it, you can fill this up with water. Now, some of the different systems out there, like a Pixie or a Genie, has these little spritzers that will shoot water up, and the JoolTool doesn't have that. So you'll actually use this and apply the water manually, but I haven't found that that has been an issue at all, even after I've worked with some of the other machines. You know, one of the things that's going to help me in seeing what I'm being able to do, or seeing what I want to do, is if I have a silver Sharpie. The metallic silver Sharpie is fantastic because it sticks out very easily, and you can mark your piece, and because of the shape of these discs, when it spins, you can see through it, and you can easily see where you're working. So it's kind of a nice little indicator. Now, all of these, except for the felt, you are going to be using with water. All of them are going to be run at a fairly high speed, except for the very last stage, that cerium oxide, and at that point we'll run very, very slow, and you'll see that. So let's put this on. Right now I'm working with the Flex Diamond, and this has little diamond particles on here, and you can see them, feel them. You can see that sparkle there. So this is the diamonds, and again, that's why it's so important that you work with these wet so that you don't knock those diamonds off. This is a very, very aggressive remover. So you do want to keep that in mind as you're using this. I highly suggest wearing a mask and safety goggles, because this is kind of messy, and as I look around at my tools here around the JoolTool, there is some water splatter there. So I know that we've got some good force going on, but that's also throwing a lot of material. So be safe, take your own safety precautions. You'll notice I also have a little paper towel here, and that's because I tend to drip a little bit. So whatever you need to do to get things set up. Typically, when I am working with this, I will work probably here about between the 4 and 5 o'clock position. But because of the way that I've got the camera set up, I'm kind of standing off to the side. So you'll see me more here at about the 6 o'clock position, which is going to create a little bit more off spray for me. But it's easier for me to see and hold this, and allows you to see as the viewer what's really truly going on. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on, not too fast at first, just apply a little bit of water, and you can see I just do it with my fingers. It doesn't hurt or anything like that, and it just applies that water there. I will also apply the water here to my piece. I'm going to run this at a fairly high speed. And it does not take a lot of pressure, especially with this one. However, you want to be consistent and you want your movement to be slow. So your speed is high, but your movement is slow. Very gentle and very controlled. All right, and you can see already I have taken off that edge. It's already smoothed this out quite a bit. I can still feel there's some bumps right here. So again, I'm just going to add a little bit more water. Gently come in. Smooth that down again. Give it a little bit of moisture here. And it helps you to see what you need to do. So I need to round off this corner. And I'm not pushing at all very hard on this one. So this is a very gentle pressure. However, it is guided. Notice that I support my piece with both hands. Very important. Okay, so that's coming along nicely. This again, I'm not going to refine this shape too much because I just need to get that general shape into place. I'm going to now take this a little bit more flat here on the side. You can see we've had a big high spot. I'm not even touching down here yet, but it's removing that high spot for me. And now we have a lot more contact area here. And you can kind of see I'm rocking and rolling it to smooth out that corner and create that rounded edge. Okay, at this point I've gone all the way around the stone, so I've removed a lot of those imperfections. I'm still sticking out a little bit here, so I might bring this end in right here a little bit before I start to really kind of create that bevel here on the front. Okay, almost there. And again, you can see that I just kind of rock that so that I can roll that edge on there. And at this point, this is pretty flat up here. But I'm just going to make sure it's nice and even. Okay, at this point I've pretty much got my shape. Now I'm just going to come back in and modify and roll these corners a little bit better. I can see that I've got a little bit of a high spot right there. And that pretty much takes care of that. So at this point, if I wanted to, I could kind of round this, but I think I'm going to do that with the next step. Now this, you'll see that it's pretty loaded up with glass here at this point, but I can just run that underwater with a toothbrush and it'll brush right out. Now you'll see that we've got a very rough finish, very matte finish, you know, just kind of needs to be smoothed out. It is fairly rough, but everything is pretty even that I can see. So the next step is my medium diamond. Again, just put this on until you feel a little bit of resistance there. Again, lots of water that we're going to run this with, higher speed, slow, gentle pressure. And here's where I'm really going to start to smooth things out. At this point, I'm starting to come to the top of the stone to really round that edge out there. Okay, and you can see I'm going kind of slow and I'm taking each little section one at a time. Okay, the purpose of this step is to kind of refine that shape that we did with the last step, and I'm also wanting to remove any of those deeper scratches that were left by that flex diamond disc. So drying this off, again we're going to see kind of the matte finish, but it should be a much finer, much smoother finish. And this will also show us where we really need to do some more work. And this is when that Sharpie comes into play. So I can see that I've got some deeper scratches right here. So I'm just going to mark that with the Sharpie, and that's going to show me where I need to remove some of this glass or do a little bit more polishing. I have a little bit of a sharper edge right there. And the rest of it kind of looks good. So again, a little higher speed, a little bit of water here. Very gentle, controlled movements. I'm just kind of blending things together as well. Okay, At this point, everything has been smoothed out, and now it's time to move to the next disc. So now we're going to go to the very fine diamond. Again, higher speed. Again, controlled movement. You'll also notice that I tried to change the pattern in which I was sanding. Just like you do when you're sanding your metal, you want to go in different directions to really remove all those scratches. I find also that I do apply a bit more pressure on this particular grit than I do the other. At this point, things kind of have a nice matte finish, but it should be even. You can kind of see that here. Should be fairly even as you go around. So the next step is going to be our felt wheel. This is done without water. We do use the polishing compound. High speed again. Kind of load that up. And we get this nice shine on this. I don't know if you can see that on the video or not, but here's a matte side and there's our nice shiny side. And again, you'll see that I'm changing the direction as I polish this. That just helps to remove all scratches. Okay, so at this point we're pretty shiny, and a lot of people will just leave it at this stage. Especially like for me, I probably would leave this because this is going to be covered up by a bezel anyway. But if you want to get this really slick, wet look, then we would go to the next phase, which is the cerium. This disc has been embedded with the cerium oxide, so it's kind of nice. You run this very, very, very slow, extremely slow, lots of water. Okay, so here we're just going to, again, give it some good pressure. And you can see that little slurry of that cerium oxide right in there working. Again, give it a couple different directions. And this will kind of polish this out and help us to get that wet look. Okay, and again, we're seeing that cerium get to work for us. fair amount of pressure on this so that that cerium can really get to work on those spots. Okay. Okay, and at this point it is done. I don't know if this comes through on that video or not, but it's just as wet looking or glassy as the top surface of this cabochon on all the sides. So that's how you use the JoolTool to create, cut, and polish your cabochon's infused glass.